The St. Louis Cardinals win another series, but an interview with Mason Wynn made me wonder, is Brendan Donovan the best second baseman in all of Major League Baseball? We'll discuss it today on Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Haffern, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on X at JD Sports Radio, as well as the podcast at LO_Cardinals on X as well. We're on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and comment. Hit that notification button so you don't miss anything. Also available on TikTok and Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. The St. Louis Cardinals took care of business on a wet and soggy night in Baltimore by defeating the Orioles 6-4 to win the series. They win back-to-back games, take 2 out of 3. We're going to delve into that game later on in the show. But after everything took place, I want to start with something that was said after the game. Okay? Jim the Cat Hayes, interviewing Mason Wynn after the game, asked him about Brendan Donovan, who had returned from the day off previously. He was dealing with some hip tightness. Remember, precautionary. Nobody was worried about anything. It was nothing major. Everybody settled down. Just took a day. It's okay. It's all right. It's a long season. And when Mason Wynn responded to the question from Jim, he said he's different. Every night he's playing hard, hitting every single night, it feels like. Today was just another example of why he's the best second baseman in the game right now. And it got me thinking, like, is he? Is he? Because we think about Brendan Donovan, and we've had him for a few years now, right? And you see him, and we know how important he is to the Cardinals, right? You know how good he is and what he means to this team. In the clubhouse, on the field, has been a solid player, right? Who can play just about anywhere you need him to. Excellent defender, has a Gold Glove to prove it. Certainly a good hitter. Great hitter? Certainly a good hitter coming into the season. But a guy that certainly works hard, does his job without a lot of fanfare, even though he does it very, very well. Certainly doesn't get a lot of recognition nationally. St. Louis, love him, right? In our area, in St. Louis, in our town, in our fan base, Brendan Donovan, we know how great he is. Everybody else, we feel like, is kind of missing the boat on things. But hearing Mason Wynn say what he said, it got me thinking, in a position that I deem kind of thin as far as superstars go. Not a superstar second baseman in Major League Baseball, which bodes well for Donnie. Is Donnie the best second baseman in baseball right now? So come with me. Let's go on this journey and go look at the stats. Now, defensively, we know he's been really good his whole career. That we don't really question whatsoever. But now that he's settled back into second base more than left field, dude hasn't missed a beat. Just had his first error of the season the other day. And it wasn't an egregious mistake. He just had a bad angle on a throw to second on a possible double play ball. It hit the runner and went away. That was his error. He didn't zing it wide into the outfield trying to rush something. He didn't boot some routine grounder or drop a pop-up or just something stupid. Tough angle, tried to make the play, it hit the runner. They gave him an error. Defensive runs saved on FanGraphs have him as a +2, which is tied for third in the league. Nico Horner of the Cubs is running away with things at the moment at a +8, and then it's Andres Jimenez of the Blue Jays, a +6. But third is pretty good. We'll take third in all of baseball. Outs above average, he's at +1, which is tied for fifth in baseball. Nico Horner is at the top again at +5. Marcus Semien, who we're going to see in this upcoming series against Texas this weekend, he's a +4. Bryson Stott from Philly is +3. Then you got 4 guys at +2. Then Donnie and a couple other dudes. Then if we flip the page to Baseball Savants to get some of that information, his fielding range is what you'd expect it to be, because we know Donnie does a really good job, but he's not the most fleet of foot. So covering a whole lot of ground is probably not his thing. And he's in the 39th percentile in fielding range, and arm strength, 24th percentile. So he's in the lower area there. Not great, not terrible, but not great. And the thing is, to think that coming into the season, what was Brendan Donovan known most for? Defense. Defense, right? And these stats are showing you that, yeah, he's pretty good, but he's not an elite level defender by any means. But even though the stats say what they say and the metrics say what they say, you and I have seen Brendan Donovan play on a daily basis in St. Louis, and we know how friggin' good this guy is at second base. He gets the job done in left field. He's very good at second base. By far his best position. I've loved being able to see him play a little shortstop this year. That's been good too. Mason Wynn can't play all the games, no matter how much you cry and want him to. He can't. Most people can't in this day and age. He's going to need some days off. You got Jose Barrera, who can play shortstop, obviously, and keep Donnie at second. But it's cool to see that he's got the ability to pull that off. We know he can play third. We know if you need him to, he can play probably anywhere in the outfield. Plays first base if you need him to. The only thing I haven't seen him do is catch or pitch. But we know how good he is at second base, and you're seeing that. And we appreciate his ability to make the routine plays, the normal plays. Those are the ones that drive you nuts, is when you make errors and you make mistakes on the simple things. And Donnie very rarely makes any mistakes on that stuff. When it's hitting his direction, pretty certain that he's going to get the play done. So normal plays, routine plays, day in, day out. From time to time, you'll see him make a spectacular play. He'll make a diving play, and you're like, yes. Or like in Wednesday night's game, the tag he made at second base. That was awesome. Very acrobatic. The guy was still safe, but, Donnie at first, he was out. But he surprises you with some of his athletic ability on certain plays. But if anything, steady presence that you can rely on, which is great. Now, where Donnie is separating himself, because he's not doing it as much defensively, even though he's just as good as we know he is, he's doing it with his bat this year. The offensive numbers to back up Mason Wynn's statement are coming your way next on Locked On Cardinals. I think you're going to like what we show you here. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money, it's not just a budgeting app. It's actually a complete financial command center, and it's going to help you out in all sorts of ways. You can track all your accounts, you can track your investments and your spending, and you do it in one place, which is great. So you can stop managing your money and start building wealth. Getting things delivered is a big thing for everybody these days. It's not just you. It's not just me. Everybody does it. And the Monarch Money app is going to help you budget smarter and save more when it comes to how you're spending your money on those deliveries. And instead of juggling the multiple apps, you just use Monarch Money and check your finances, track your spending, and you can even plan long-term goals. And if you're married, it makes managing your money with your spouse or partner that much easier, keeps everything less stressful, takes care of the shared accounts, takes care of the goals you want to set. It's a beautiful thing. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. You can leave comments on YouTube as well as on X anytime you want. Feedback is always welcome and encouraged. I think we're going to have a lot of discussion about this, whether or not Brendan Donovan is the best second baseman in all of baseball right now, best all-around second baseman. Let's take a look at the offensive side, because the defensive side, I was surprised that he wasn't higher than where he was. I know recently he was up there as far as second baseman defensive stats go, and he slid a little bit. But let's take a look at this offensive side for Brendan Donovan. We're going to start with the weakest spot of his game when it comes to the offense, and that's the power. Although he hit a huge home run on Wednesday night for the team last night. That was just his 4th home run of the season. And I'm not, the everydayers know this, I'm not a guy who is possessed with power. I don't need power all the time. I respect it, but I prefer hitters like the Cardinals have. I like dudes who put the ball in play, make things happen in the field, put pressure on the defense, guys who are hitting line drives, who were plugging the gaps with things, keeping the carousel of runners going round and round and round, keep pressure on that pitcher. That's the way I like my hitters to be. Yes, it's cool when they hit the home runs, and Donnie's was a big one on Wednesday night, not taking that away. But I'll take a guy who doesn't hit as many home runs than a guy who does and then strikes out all the time trying to hit home runs too often. There's a time to hit and there's a time to slug, right? That's the phrase this year that we have learned, and I believe in that wholeheartedly. 4 home runs for Brendan Donovan puts him behind 15 other second basemen in the league. So you got Brandon Lau of the Rays, who leads the league for second baseman with 11. Our old friend Tommy Edman, he's tied for second place with 8. Had a lot right away, right out of the gate, and has slowed down a bit. Was hurt for a bit, too. Along with the Diamondbacks' Ketel Marte and Seattle's Dylan Moore, and then it kind of trickles down from there. We're going to circle back to the power numbers in just a moment because there is something that's important about this. Let's go to hits. Brendan Donovan is far and away the leader here with a chip carry special, 69 hits on the season. The next closest second baseman is Nico Horner of the Cubs, 59. So that's a big one for Donnie. You know, he's already 10 hits on the second place guy. So good news for Donnie. Doubles. Donnie's at the top again with 18, second best. Nico Horner, 14. Triples, he's in dead last. He doesn't have any. We'll move on. How about RBIs? Leader in the clubhouse at second base is Brandon Lau with 30 on the year. The Tigers' Gleyber Torres is second with 27. Tommy Edmonds got 26. And then there's Brendan Donovan sitting there in 4th place with 24, along with Nico Horner, Jackson Holliday, who we just saw in this last series, who looked really, really good for Baltimore. And that's nice to see. I'm glad that, you know, the Cardinals took 2 of 3, but it was cool to see Jackson Holliday, and he looks good. Starting to step up and become that guy that they took number 1 overall. Then you got Bryce Stott from the Phillies again. So certainly a respectable number at 24 RBIs on the year. 6 off the pace of the top second baseman. Walks. Donnie, we know, has got a great eye. He's in 8th place with 17. First place is Torres from Detroit, 25. Boston's Christian Campbell is in 2nd with 24. The Brewers' Bryce Terang in 3rd with 23, and so on. Horner seems to be the guy that's kind of popping up right there alongside Donovan in a lot of statistics. And he's got 14. Donnie's ahead of him with 17. So he's got 3 more, but he's got more. Stolen bases, not really a part of his game. Donnie only has 3 on the season. The leader is Bryce Terang with 14. Horner is tied for second with 11. All right, let's get to some juicy stuff where Brendan Donovan starts to separate. Batting average. Brendan Donovan is hitting a robust 335 now on the season after that big night on Wednesday. The next closest to him is that guy again, Nico Horner, but he is 46 points lower than him at 289. Think about that for a moment. 46-point difference between where Brendan Donovan is, batting average among second basemen in all of baseball, and then second place. 46 points. That is a monster number. And that 335 average that I'm talking about has him 7th overall in batting in all of baseball. No positions needed, just in all hitters. Pretty special stuff going on with Donnie. On base percentage, number 1, Brendan Donovan, 395, followed by Torres at 388. Terang down at 342. Then there's Horner at 338. So a large lead over most of them. Gleyber Torres, 388, sniffing around Donnie's area, but everybody else well below. Slugging percentage, number 1, Brendan Donovan, 481 batting average, or not batting average, slugging percentage. Second place at 446 is Brandon Lau, 35 points back, mind you. After him, it's Jackson Holliday, Gleyber Torres, and so forth. Nico Horner down at 9th at 368 for those keeping track at home. OPS, number 1, Brendan Donovan, 876. That's a top 20 OPS in the entire league, folks. Ahead of Pete Crow Armstrong, who's having this unbelievable year for the Chicago Cubs. Him and Seiya Suzuki are just crushing it for that team. And then Nico Horner obviously having a good year too. But that's ahead of PCA. That's ahead of Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., Bryce Harper, all these guys. He's ahead of them. Among second basemen, Torres is second at 818. That's 58 points back of Donnie. Nico Horner is 5th at 706. That's what, 170 points behind him? That's crazy. Extra base hits among second basemen. Brendan Donovan in the lead. He's got 22. Brandon Lau is second with 16. 11 of those are his home runs. He leads in total bases among second basemen with 99. Second, Brandon Lau, 86. Remember, he's got more home runs, so he's getting more total bases because he's hitting the long ball. But Donnie's ahead of him by a bunch, 13 more. And if you go to his Baseball Savant page, it is absolutely dripping with red. YouTube guys, you can see it up on the screen right now. 87th percentile in batting run value. 91st percentile in base running value. Those are things that you don't, it's not just base hits and it's not just playing defense. What about the base running side of things? 91st percentile in base running value, even though he's not a fast guy. Of course, the hitting numbers are outstanding. 99th percentile in expected batting average. And this isn't among second basemen. This is in the league. 99th in expected batting average. 97th percentile in whiff percentage. 95th percentile in K percentage. There's a difference between swinging and missing and then striking out. And he's good at both of not doing it. Is he the best all-around second baseman in Major League Baseball? I just gave you a lot of evidence that says that he might be. He might be right now the best second in baseman and all-around in all baseball. The numbers seem to think that if he's not, he's certainly in the conversation, right? The two guys that seem to be in the discussion with him, just going through the stats and whose names are popping up right next to things that Donnie is doing, is Nico Horner and Brandon Lau. Nico Horner is having a hell of a year. And again, I'm not taking anything away from these guys. They're very, very good. But Horner, so far this year, has provided little to no power whatsoever. He doesn't have a home run yet, so none. He does offer you the better defense. He offers you more speed. Horner has an OPS plus of 103 so far this year. And he's got a WAR of 2.1. Very respectable, very, very good. 2.1 is very good. Brandon Lau has the power in the RBI numbers, but he also strikes out a ton. 53 so far this season, 4th most among all second basemen, and he's a -3 defensive run save, but a +2 and outs above the average. His OPS plus is at 112. He's got a WAR of 1. Then you get to Brendan Donovan. OPS plus 144. Got a WAR of 2.3. The OPS plus obviously much better than both of them by a long shot. The WAR just a little bit ahead of Nico Horner. 0.2 ahead. They all do things well. But Brendan Donovan, at least to me, and looking at the numbers, because I was fully ready to prove myself wrong and be like, nah, probably not. Look at the evidence. It seems like the best all-around guy at this moment in Major League Baseball. And I know we've got Ketel Marte, we got Ozzie Albies. These are guys who are normally sitting at or near the top of the list here, but they haven't had the starts to the season that Brendan Donovan has had. Marte, offensively, he's doing very well. He's hitting 283, 8 home runs, only 13 RBIs, which is really weird considering the team that they got in Arizona. I mean, they score runs, but 8 home runs, 13 RBIs. He's only knocked in 5 other runners. The other 8 are himself. 1.2 WAR, OPS plus 164. Defensive runs saved, 0. Outs above average, -1. So quite a difference there. Ozzy Albies hitting 240, 5 home runs, 19 RBIs. His WAR is a 0.5, OPS plus at 83, defensive run saved -2, outs above average -1. Not even in the conversation. So, is Brendan Donovan the best second baseman in Major League Baseball right now? What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Maybe we can do some fan feedback about this in tomorrow's episode. But I'm curious what your thoughts on it. And I want you to look at it not just as a Cardinals fan, because obviously, we're going to be a little bit biased. We love him. We think Donnie's great. But I want you to look at it and take the numbers I gave you and think about it for a second. Who would you rather have? If it's not Brendan Donovan, who would you rather have? And there's really not going to be, I wouldn't say if you took Nico Horner, I'm not going to argue with you. There's obviously some really good things that he's doing this year. But think about it, discuss it amongst yourselves, and then leave some comments down in the comment section down below on YouTube, or hit me up on X, and we could talk about it in tomorrow's episode. I want to get to Wednesday's game. We're going to get to that next, coming up here on Locked On Cardinals. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night. It's all season long, getting local analysis on a national scale. You can find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB or on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Again, gross night in Baltimore. Most of us didn't think this team was even going to play. I didn't. It hit rained all day. John Denton reported that the Cardinals had even extended their hotel rooms and got new key cards made for the staff and players, got them issued, expected to be rained out and play on Thursday. Credit to the grounds crew at Camden Yards, man. They got it set up, ready to play, had a delay at the beginning, got underway, 25 minutes later than they were supposed to start, and we had baseball. Early on, it was like, crap, maybe we should have just rained out, because Miles Mikolas was not sharp. And I warned you about this. Eventually, Miles Mikolas is going to have a game where he gets knocked around a little bit. It wasn't nearly as bad as it was in Boston that night, but it wasn't great. Mikolas, not sharp. Everything was up in the zone. Couldn't get the ball down. That's dangerous for almost every pitcher in baseball. Orioles took full advantage. They jump out to that 3-0 lead in the second inning. But as has been customary for the Cardinals so far this year, they come right back. They don't quit. They don't get down and just go, well, we're probably toast. And early on, they were having a real tough time with Cade Pavich, who was the starter for the Orioles, just striking out over and over. Never seen this guy before. Had a tough time. But when they came back around to see him again, that's when they started hitting. And they ended up jumping out and getting 2 runs. 2-out, 2-run single by Jordan Walker, who is starting to look more and more comfortable at the plate for all the haters out there. Had a really good at-bat later in this game where he laid off some pitches that were out of the zone, didn't chase, got ahead in the count, and then took a couple of strikes. They were at his knees, over the plate, but at his knees. They were low, not something that he's normally going to do a whole lot with, and he was patient and took his time. It was like, I'm ahead in the count. I'm controlling things right now. Ends up getting a walk out of it. I thought that was beautifully done, and I want to see more of that. Just because it's in the zone doesn't mean you have to swing at it. You got 3 strikes to work with, so use them. So scores 4-2 by the time we get to the 5th inning, and that's when the Cardinals' top of the order gets busy again. They were huge in this game. Newt doubles, it moves to third on a wild pitch. Mason Wynn doubles to bring him in, and then it's Brendan Donovan, and we have liftoff as he unloads on one and smacks the sinker over the wall in right field for a 2-run shot. And just like that, boom, Cardinals have the lead. Come from behind again. They'll tack on another one in the 7th inning on an RBI double by Ivan Herrera. They win this one 6-4. Top of the order, Newt, Wynn, Donnie, a combined 9 for 15. All 6 runs scored, 3 RBIs. Just blasted the Orioles in this one. Ivan Herrera 1 for 3 with that RBI double, but also took 2 walks. So, pitchers are starting to adjust to what Ivan Herrera is good and not as good at. And instead of chasing things and, letting the pitchers dictate what he can do, Ivan Herrera is just going to take the walks. And that's what sluggers do, man. That's what they do. You don't put it in his spot and you're going to try to get him to chase outside the zone. I'll just take the walk. I'll go to first. Used to see it all the time. The one that remember, as far as Cardinals goes, is Mark McGwire. That everybody was scared if they put anything over the plate, he's going to knock it over the wall. And they would pitch it all over the place. And Mark was more than happy to take the trot down to first base. Ivan Herrera is starting to show that patience. And I'm not saying he's Mark McGwire power-wise. I'm just saying he's willing to take it. He's not going to open up the zone and start swinging at crap all over the place just because he wants to hit the ball so bad. So I love that. Jordan Walker, big night, or the big knock, and then had that walk as well that I mentioned. Victor Scott 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. Not a great matchup against the lefty Pavich, but his defense is so good. You don't really want to take him out of the lineup, especially on a rainy, crappy night where you want your most steady defenders still in the field. So it's probably good for him to get a day off here on Thursday and refresh, get back at it this weekend in Texas. Wilson Contreras was 0 for 5, but he did smoke a couple of those pitches. They just happened to be outs. So not really sweating anything with Willie right there. But the story was the top of the order. Newt 2 for 5, 5 for 9 in his last 2 games in Baltimore. Mason Wynn 4 for 5, 6 for his last 10. And of course, Brendan Donovan, 3-hit night, big home run, 8 for his last 17. With those 3 setting the tone at the top of the order, and Herrera entrenched right behind them, with Willie and Nato doing what they do. Walker's starting to heat up a little bit. He's 7 for his last 19 with 6 RBIs. The lineup is just not an easy one to maneuver through for any team. Shout out to the bullpen in this one. 5 scoreless innings in relief. Kyle Leahy, John King, Phil Maton, Jojo Romero, Ryan Helsley. Day off. Ali could unleash everybody at Baltimore to save that lead, and that's exactly what he did, and it was beautiful. Extremely impressive job by King, Maton, and Romero specifically. Helsley, again, always has to have a guy on to make things interesting, but he nails down his 12th save, which is 5th in baseball, 4th in the National League. He's got 8 saves in May, which is tops in the league. The whip at 1.50 is scary. That is not what you want when you're trying to close down leads, especially when it's probably 1 or 2 runs at the end of a game. But, he's getting the job done. I don't mean it to seem like I'm bitching and moaning about Ryan Helsley. I'm just, discussing things with you guys. I'm not saying he's a bad closer. I'm just like, there's always somebody on. It's crazy. But as long as the end result is what we want, then I guess we can't complain too much. Rangers this weekend to wrap up the month of May. Over the last 30 days, only the Phillies have a better record than the Cardinals, who were 21-9 over that period, 18-7 in the month of May. They are still 3 back of the Cubs and the division, who just had their hands full with the Colorado Rockies at Wrigley. Some very tight games, but they still won them. But at 32-24, the Cardinals are currently in the 3rd wild card spot. Obviously, it's very early to start talking about that kind of stuff, but it's just worth noting to say, hey, the Cardinals are right here with everybody else. They're playing good ball. They really are. So if you've been one of those guys that's like, I don't really feel like watching them, you might want to change your mind because it's been very entertaining. They'll be in Texas to face the Rangers this weekend. We'll preview that series and a whole lot more coming up on our next episode. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on X at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. We're on TikTok and Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. Like, subscribe on YouTube, making the push for 13,000 subscribers. Can use your help if you're not a subscriber. People who watch this, apparently it's like only 4% of people are actually subscribed that watch the episode. So all you got to do is click that little button. I would appreciate that. It helps our channel and our love for the St. Louis Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals. Ugly Loud shirt. Glad to have it back on.